Thomas Edison made 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. 1,000 unsuccessful attempts. 1,000. I commend a man, a woman, who wills his way, her way, to a win. Our will to win within the endeavors we pursue has to be 1,000-fold. Life is going to trip us up. We're going to fall. We're going to get some abrasions, some bruises. Yet, the factor that will determine our future will be predicated on whether we choose to get back up from each fall. In the sport of boxing, a boxer can lose a match by way of knockout, technical knockout, unanimous decision, or disqualification. A knockout is exactly what it is, a knockout. In the words of Kevin Hart, the boxer peeled the opposing boxer's muffin cap back blue. A technical knockout is when the referee exercises his discretion. If he feels the boxer is unable to continue fighting due to severe injuries, he'll end the fight. A unanimous decision is when the boxers go all rounds without a knockout or a technical knockout. At that juncture, the panel of judges will decide which boxer won the fight. And finally, a disqualification is exactly what it is, a disqualification. The boxer committed an illegal act in the ring. Whether you realize it or not, we are all boxers trying to fight our way into, in the words of Thomas Jefferson, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But there are some things we have to surmount before we can do so. The first thing we have to surmount is a knockout. We have to bob and weave the attempts by the enemy to knock us out. This point really doesn't need a thorough explanation. You see, the negative forces of life want to put us to sleep when it comes to our purpose, like Juan Marquez did Manny Pacquiao a few weeks ago. The second thing we have to surmount is a technical knockout. The people closest to us assist and referee in our lives. They keep us in check. However, there may be times when they offer advice suggesting us to take another route. Their intent is not to exhaust our esteem. They have good intentions. They just care about us. They've watched us be beaten and battered countless times. Like Thomas Edison, we had 1,000 unsuccessful attempts. But even with the people who are closest to us, we cannot always move on their advice, because that 1,001 attempt we failed to make could have turned our dream into a reality. There are countless people who had to go against what Papa said, what Granny said, what Daddy said, what Mommy said, what Auntie said, what Unc said, what Cousin said, what Best Friend said, because their heart told them otherwise. As a result, they made it. Listen to your heart. The third thing we have to surmount is a unanimous decision. Think about the career path you want to take in life or already took. With that career path in mind, imagine the experts, the judges of that particular field, told you you're not good enough to succeed in your field of choice. That is what all-pro running back Arian Foster experienced after he graduated from the University of Tennessee. Between April 25th and 26, 2009, the NFL draft consisted of 7 rounds and 256 picks. Out of those 256 picks, the name Arian Foster was not called. Sadly, he went undrafted. Following the draft, he signed a free agent contract with the Houston Texans, only to be released and signed to the Texans practice squad. But Foster didn't give up. He worked his way up from the practice squad to the active roster that year. The following year, he worked his way up from the active roster to starting running back and made the Pro Bowl. The rest is history. Arian Foster is now known as one of the best running backs in the NFL. Sometimes the experts misjudge. The experts judge Arian Foster as a player unworthy of even being drafted, but his judgment differed. Just because the ostensible experts say you're not good enough does not suggest it's over for you. It's not over until you say it's over. You have the final say. People may discriminate, but success doesn't. Be like Arian Foster and foster your success. The fourth thing we have to surmount is a disqualification. As the saying goes, there's a first time for everything. Back in June 28th, 1997, there was a first in the sport of boxing. This first occurred in a heavyweight championship between the champion Evander Holyfield and the contender Mike Tyson. Through the first 2 rounds, Holyfield was giving Tyson the business. He was stomping a mud hole in his buttocks. In the 3rd round, Tyson couldn't take the beating anymore. He was flushed with frustration, which led him to roll his head above Holyfield's shoulder and bite a piece of his ear off. Never has there ever been a boxer disqualified for biting into one's flesh. Mike Tyson was the first. Like I mentioned earlier, our will to win has to be 1,000-fold because there will be an overflow of failures. In spite of these failures, we have to keep in mind that when we do fail, to fail forward, not drown within the sea of our failures and disqualify ourselves from success. Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, was a pariah. No one accepted him because he was different. The fellow reindeers attempted to knock him out through ridicule. Santa Claus technically knocked him out by suggesting Rudolph's red nose inhibits him from being able to pull his sled. Even when Rudolph attempted to conceal his red nose so he can partake in the reindeer games by unanimous decision, Coach Comet said Rudolph still couldn't participate in the training to fly Santa's sled. Due to Rudolph's stigma, he allowed himself to drown within a sea of failure and disqualified himself by running away. But that's not where the story ends, because then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, "Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sled tonight?" Then all the reindeer loved him as they shouted out with glee, "Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history. Like Rudolph, you're different, will make a difference."